Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our May live stream for the Parent Involvement Committee for Halton District School Board. My name is Saad Juman, as I know some of you, and I am the co-chair of the PIC committee. To start off tonight, we are going to start, as we always do, with the land acknowledgement. We begin by acknowledging the land and our responsibility to care for and respect all that provides us with life. This land upon which HDSB is situated is on the ancestral, treaty, and tidal lands of the Anishinaabeg, Ojibwe, Michizagig Nation, now known as the Mississaugas of the Credit. Michizagig territory in the past and present continues to host both Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples. The HDSB is committed to continuous knowledge building with respect to actions that address and resolve the ongoing impacts of colonialism. We do this by learning and understanding the true history, treaty obligations, duties and responsibilities, and Indigenous rights while actively maintaining mutually beneficial relationships and collectively respecting and caring for the land. So with that, our meeting is now in session. Our first order of business is passing of our minutes of our last meeting, which was on April 18th, 2024. So if I can get a motion to pass those minutes, please. Okay, Laura, and if I can get somebody to second the motion, please. Jennifer. Thank you very much, Laura and Jennifer. So those minutes are now passed. Our next agenda item is our director's report. So we are very lucky and fortunate to have Director Innes on the call with us now, and I will give the floor to Director Innes for his report.
Thank you so much, Saad, and good evening, everyone. It's so good to be with you. Thank you for the invitation. I was honored to receive the invitation through Tara to come and spend some time with you this evening. This is not an opportunity that I'm availed of frequently or often, but when I do, I really value it. So happy to be here with you. I want to say, let me begin by saying congratulations on the work that you did around the PIC conference. Yeah. So congrats to Tara and to all of you for your work on that. That was an amazing success. I know that parents truly valued the time that we spent together, and it proved once again that parents are very much involved and supportive of the work that we do together. So thank you so much for that, and congratulations to you. We know, and we've known for quite a long time, what the research suggests is that students whose parents stay involved in school have better attendance, better behavior, get better grades, demonstrate better social skills, and adapt to school better. We also know that when we have high expectations both at home and school, and we create the conditions, which includes high value instruction, we encourage learning, exploration, creativity, application of knowledge, and we light a spark in students. That's what we do. We light a spark that turns into the flame of lifelong learning. And that's what we want for all of our students. That's what you want, and that's what we want. And so we are grateful for that opportunity to be partners with you in lighting that flame of lifelong learning in students. And so once you become a lifelong learner, no one can take anything away from you. So grateful for the partnership that we have in that regard. I thought tonight I might just highlight a few things that we are doing as a board, a few accomplishments, just to share a few things with you, just so you get a flavor. I certainly could not encapsulate all the things that we have done and that we do so well with your help and your support. But just highlighting a few things for you. And I want to leave some time for some questions and answers. If you have some questions for me, I'm happy to take that as well if time permits, and if you'd like to do so. So the first thing I'd like to highlight for you is that as a board, the state of the HDSB is strong. This is like a State of the Union address. The state of the HDSB is strong. Our kids are doing extremely well. They have always done well and continue to do well. Last year, this year's results are not fully in yet, but last year, if we take that's the latest full year data that we have, we know that our kids did extremely well provincially. The Halton District School Board is one of, if not the most preeminent board in the province. It's a board of excellence. It's a board where our kids, excel and do great things. And so we're proud, both myself, Tara, the entire senior team, the board of trustees, and all of you as parents. That's why your kids are with us, because you see and know the work that we do. So thank you for that trust. I'll start by offering some of the results that we've had in our core academic area. As you know, learning and achievement is one of the priorities that we have as a board in our multi-year plan. And so if we take mathematics, for example, in grade 3 math, the Halton District School Board outperformed the province by almost 10 percentage points. And in grade 6 math, we exceeded the province by 13 points. In grade 9, we outperformed the province by 15, almost 16 points. In reading, in grade 3, we had over 80% of our students meeting or exceeding the provincial standards, and we outperformed the province by almost 8%. In grade 6 reading, almost 90% of our students met or exceeded the province in reading, and we outperformed the province once again by 6%. In writing, our grade 3 writers, 74% of our students met or exceeded the provincial standards, and we outperformed the province by almost 9%. In grade 6 writing, almost 90% of our students met or exceeded the provincial standards, and we exceeded the province by almost 6%. In grade 9 math, 70% of our students met or exceeded the provincial standard, which is an increase of 8% over the year previous, and we exceeded the provincial average by 15%. And in the OSSLT, the Ontario Secondary Schools Literacy Test, our grade 10 students, well over 90% of our students met or exceeded the requirements of OSSLT, which exceeded the provincial average by almost 8%. So, just laying that foundation, you see that our students are doing exceptionally well, supported by our superintendents, our principals, and all the staff that are in our school. And when I say staff, I'm not talking just about teachers, because one of the things that I have come to realize in our board, and I've seen it firsthand, is that everyone in the school, every single staff, is a member of the learning community that supports the excellence that we see. I've even seen caretakers being involved in supporting our students. So, that's something that we ought to be proud of. And so I wanted to share that bit of good news with you. We also had, since I came, and I think previously, there was always a director's cut video, which highlights all of the priorities that we have in the multi-year plan. And we use this as a vehicle, working with our communication and engagement team. We create these videos, and this year we moved to highlighting student work, getting right down to the classroom, seeing all the great things that are happening in equity and inclusion, Indigenous perspectives, environmental leadership, mental health and well-being, learning and achievement, as I mentioned earlier. And so we're doing this right across the board, and it's resonating right with everyone. So we're grateful for that work. I hope you've had a chance to see some of it. If you haven't, go on our website and check it out, and you will see some of the great videos that we've used to highlight how we're strengthening learning and making the educational experience a successful and engaging one for all of our students. I have also done something that is, I thought we could reach out to the community more through the director's office, using my voice, using my platform to illuminate and highlight many of the concerns that I know are out there in the community. So sometimes it extends beyond just the curricular expectations or the multi-year plan. So I don't know if you've had a chance to see any of the Directors Panel series. But if you don't, there should be one coming up soon. So stay tuned for that. You will hear more. The last one we had was in March of this year, and it was entitled Building Bridges in a Polarizing World. And I don't think I need to explain to anyone on this call why a topic like that would be important. I think we've seen that there is just a growing polarization in our society. And of course, as a school board, we're not immune from that. And so we're trying to see how can we create a space where we can build bridges to each other, where we can hold hands across our differences, and how we can meet each other. So that was our latest one. Previously to that, we had some on Indigenous rights and education, environmental leadership, normalizing mental health and well-being. We had Two-Spirit and transgender awareness. We had Black excellence. We had anti-Semitism. We had Islamophobia. We've had it all. Just looking at the different things that are impacting our students and their families. And so that's part of what I've been trying to do, is just to use my voice and my platform to bring some awareness to some of these issues, so that it can have a ripple effect throughout our system, and so others can pick up the mantle and carry on the work. And so, and that of course often is directed at you primarily as parents and guardians. And so I hope that when you hear about, and if you haven't had a chance to watch them, they're archived on our website, the Directors Panel series. You can go back and you can watch them. They're very interesting. They're riveting. So get some popcorn, go and tune in, and you can avail yourself of the great videos that we have put out there. Lots of excellent content. Also wanted to highlight for you the budget. It's been a topic that you have heard a lot about. I hope that you certainly took the opportunity when the survey went out to respond to that, or to tune into any of the town halls that were had. I hope you took advantage of that, because as you know, we're facing a structural deficit this year, and it's something that we are working through and working on, along with our superintendent of business, Roxana Nagoy. We're going to be presenting a balanced budget to the Board of Trustees, which means that we're looking for efficiencies. We're finding ways to do things differently. We're trying to make sure that we are creating classes, closer to the ways that we're funded. And so you will see some of that when our budget comes to the Board of Trustees at our next board meeting. But we're working through that, and we understand that, there may be some pain points in some of it, but we are mindful of to mitigate the impacts to students and student learning. But we have no choice. I mean, the ministry has really, created regulation that we have to balance the budget. I mean, this is not an option. And so, we're being responsible, while making sure that we are still providing quality service to our students. So, stay tuned for that, and pay close attention when that comes out. I would be remiss if I did not recognize the great talent that we have in our board that supports the work. We have the senior team, which is myself and Associate Director Tina Salmini. Tara is one of the superintendents, but there are 9 others along with her that leads the schools. So you are probably most familiar with the vice principal, principals, and teachers, but working very closely with them are the senior team members like Tara, who support schools. And so she is the person that's above the principal. That she wouldn't consider herself above the principal. That's framed badly, but just from an organizational perspective. But she works closely with and in conjunction and collaboration with the schools, and supports them extremely well. And so the others in her position would do likewise. And so I am grateful as a director to have such a strong team that supports our school leaders, who support the teachers, who support the students. So you see, we're all connected in that way. We also have, great programs that we put on for all of our parents. I don't know if you are aware, but a lot of work goes on around mental health and well-being. That's something I wanted to spend a little bit of time on tonight to talk to you about, because we have heard about the impacts of mental health and well-being post-pandemic and the impacts on our students, and it is real. And so we ask that, working together, you of course would know the impacts that it's having on, your child or your children, and we see that as well. And to that end, we are taking lots of action. We've provided lots of in-service and workshops. I don't know if you've heard about some of these, story time and strategies, autism spectrum disorder and mental health, executive functioning for secondary students, celebrating neurodiversity, how to access mental health services in Halton, supporting elementary students with anxiety, how to identify youth at risk of suicide, supporting secondary students with anxiety and depression, practical strategies and interventions, among other topics that we have put together: Black, mixed race and identity, healthy and unhealthy stress, story time and strategies. Those are among some of the things that we have been looking at in providing information to families and to students so that they can, afford themselves of these opportunities and get engaged, because it is a big issue. It is a big problem, and I trust that we're going to continue to work as partners. As the African proverb says, it takes a village, it takes us, and it takes you, and it takes all of us working in concert to make sure that we're supporting our students, because we're seeing students who are at risk of self-harm, students who are just, laden with anxiety. And, in one of the directors panel series that I ran, there was a student there from a secondary school, and she said something that really resonated with me. She said that, because life is so busy, they're inundated and bombarded by social media and all of the images and messages that come from there that is negatively impacting their mental health and well-being. She said, I find ways to protect my peace. And I thought, wow, that's profound. As a young person, she realizes the negative impacts of social media and said, I need to find ways to protect my peace. And I thought, what does that look like? And she went on to explain. She said, there are times when I will just take a break from social media. Like, I will shut it off and shut it down because I realize the impact that it's having on me. And I thought, good on you. We also know that, for some of our students, there's an addictive component to it. Some of them want to put it down, but there is just a neurological response to that's pulling them towards it. So we need to continue to keep the focus on the mental health and well-being of our students. That is something that is not going away, and I think that as parents and as staff, we are going to have to continue. I know that I have already been speaking with our mental health and well-being team about some things that we can do differently next year to enhance the great work that we're already doing, because we realize the need is there and it's pressing. So thank you for the work that you are doing at home, how you're supporting a young person, and I hope you're availing yourself of the all of the programs that we're offering, because they can give you some suggestions to navigate this quandary. We in this year we had over 2,000 grade 7 to 10 students and families attend Sheridan campus. They were participating in a post-secondary fair featuring over 30 institutions representing all pathways, the 3 optional information sessions, post-secondary pathways, student life panel, and financial planning. We've gotten lots of positive feedback. In fact, one of the feedback that we've received so far is that we need to make it more accessible to more families and students, because not enough, more people, more than the 2,000 wanted to attend, but there's limited capacity. So, those are just some of the things that we're doing, and just so many more. Our students are, achieving awards and receiving commendations. right across the boards in math, in science, oh, thank you, Jennifer. Yes. So there are many more who wanted to join you who couldn't make it because there was limited space. We our skills competition. Our students, everywhere we look, our students, and I give a director's report at our board meeting, and there's not a board meeting that I cannot pull on 2, 3, 4 different examples of great things that are happening, of how our students are achieving and just doing so well. So that's the report really that I wanted to bring for you this evening, that our students are doing well. I mean, we have some challenges and we're mindful of them, and we're going to continue to work on them. And so I would like to, open it up for some questions so we can have a conversation about anything that might be on your mind.
Thank you very much for that, Director Ennis. Superintendent Connor, do we have a way to take questions through the form tonight, through the live stream attendees, or are we doing questions from the PIC committee that's here?
Yeah, so it would just be through our present PIC committee, not through the live stream, so folks can observe and hear. But if there's anybody within our committee itself that would like to ask a question, this would be a great time to do that.
Okay. Let's open it up. And you can just unmute and ask your question. Actually, maybe I can start, Director Ennis. One question I had, you mentioned about the addictive nature of social media and some of the challenges that is currently going on with, I guess, not just the students, but just society in general, even us as adults, right? Are there things that HDSB is looking at potentially doing over the next several years in terms of rolling out technology that would help to screen and limit screen time and access to those types of things?
Thanks so much for that question, Saad. I mean, a very timely question. Of course, many of you would have known and seen that the Ministry of Education has come out with what you may see in some quarters as a cell phone ban, according to the headlines. But it really is about, how do we redirect our students and focus on their learning and reduce the distractions. So a part of that, Saad, is definitely going to be, and we had already started having this conversation, but we hadn't moved as quickly because we're mindful of the impacts of it on students. We have been having conversations about how do we limit access to certain software, certain platforms, in that regard. But I think we also have some challenges of our own in terms of just how our networks are set up. If we limit it to one group, can we limit it to one group and then allow access to another, different variations. So I think we have some structural pieces that we also need to look at. But I think we will, with this new legislation, we'll be looking at how we can, have students more focused on their learning. But the one thing we do know, Saad, and you know this to be true, is that students, they're very creative. And so, no matter which way we find to reduce, their access to certain things, they're going to find a way. We know that's part of their brilliance.
Yes. No, thank you. Thank you for that. And I ask it because it's a question that I hear from parents as well. Okay. Any other questions for Director Ennis at this time? Okay. Well, Director Ennis, I know you're busy. I know you're at a current event, but thank you for taking so much time for joining us here.
I'm so grateful for the opportunity. Congratulations on another successful year, and I look forward to engaging with you again next year. And the partnership that we have is very strong, and I wanted to maintain that and build on that. And I'm so grateful to Tara and her leadership in bringing us together and just doing great work with you. So thank you to you all, and have yourselves a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Following that great update from Director Ennis, we're going to move on to the Parent Involvement Committee conference highlights and next steps. And I'm going to call our amazing chair of the PIC conference, Ali, to the floor right now. Ali, it's all yours.
Thanks, Todd. Sorry, I didn't know who you were introducing there for a second when you said amazing conference chair. But thank you so much.
You're famous now. Everybody knows you. So go ahead.
As long as I'm not infamous. So listen, this is actually hard for me to do because I want to make sure I respect time. But I've been asked to point out some highlights of the conference itself. And that's hard because there were so many highlights to choose from. And so what I'll do is I'll summarize as best I can. Superintendent Connor, Jennifer, if I've missed something, please feel free to jump in as well. But I think the conference itself was a highlight. But within that conference, I'll just go through some statistics to highlight the key parts of the conference. So we had over 600 parents, guardians register for the conference itself, which was phenomenal. At the conference itself, we had 2 amazing keynote addresses. The major keynote address, Chrissy Harold, was phenomenal, well received by parents and guardians. Then we had a second keynote, which was the board's anti-human trafficking committee, if I can use those terms. Again, well received. In addition to that, we had over 20 community displays where Jennifer and her team were able to bring in community partners to provide opportunities for parents and guardians and volunteers to connect with those community partners. In addition to that, we had over 30 workshops where parents could learn about tools and resources, both within the community and within themselves, to help their children with academics, with various aspects of health, or learn about other community resources. So fantastic workshops over 3 sessions. One of the comments we've received multiple times is that parents wish they had more time to attend more workshops. And that's something that we definitely will consider for next year. In addition to all that, we also provided a continental breakfast, an amazing lunch with different options, child minding. And I'd like to, at this point, praise or give gratitude to the amazing team of over 50 adult and student volunteers that we had, not only on the day of, but working behind the scenes for months, endless hours, weekends, Saturday nights, you name it. These volunteers worked those hours to ensure that they could put forth, and they did, an amazing conference. The PIC Planning Committee, we sat down on Tuesday night and we looked at all the feedback provided by those who completed the survey. So thank you to those who completed the survey. We've assessed it, we've analyzed it, we've broken it down into doable tasks that we now each are going to be looking at over the summer, with the goal being that this conference was amazing, but next year's conference will be even better on all different aspects. With that being said, a few of us will be working over the summer. There was a lot of excited people, excited parents and guardians at the conference itself. And so again, I would encourage anyone who wants to volunteer, anyone who wants to contribute to community building, anyone who wants to have fun, connect with other parents, guardians, educators, board members, the PIC committee is the place to be. So please, again, feel free to reach out to myself. If you have any questions, Saad or Sherry, our PIC chairs, are there to answer any questions as well. Outside of that, I'll pass it back to Tara or Jennifer or anyone else who might think there's another highlight that we can point out as well. Thank you.
Yeah, you did a great job, Ali. I would echo everything that you've said. It was exceptional. We've continued to have wonderful feedback from families, from community, from all attendees, and just the outstanding work of the key leaders and volunteers that really made this conference come to fruition. To your point, the effort, energy, passion, commitment, on behalf of all is just so powerful, and really so grateful to have been a part of it, for sure.
Thanks, Superintendent Connor. I'll throw it back to Saad. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Really appreciate that, and looking forward to next year's conference. I'm not queuing you up to be the chair again, but you never know. So next we're going to move on to, and I'm going to ask my co-chair Sherry White to unmute and present the next part around the PIC operational plans. So just key dates and key things to keep in mind for the 2024-25 school year. So Sherry, it's all yours. Maybe some technical difficulties with Sherry. Superintendent Connor, should we move to the next agenda item and maybe go back to this one, or?
Well, perhaps I think a few pieces we might be able to speak to in this would be that we do have some proposed PIC meeting dates for the upcoming year, so that we can coordinate the live stream details and make sure that all individuals who are part of the committee or are keen to be able to observe the live stream meeting will have lots of awareness around that months ahead of time. Suzanne, I know that we had a link originally around the PIC meeting dates that were proposed to review, and really, I guess, proposed to review with the group and to get a consensus or approval if that's possible. So we could certainly share those dates, Saad, if that would be okay with everybody. I think Suzanne's just going in now to where the link is. And you'll see what we've done is just try to align very similarly with the dates that we have currently in our calendar that seem to have worked well this year. And again, unless there's a position to do something a little different. So the proposed dates you'll see kind of in the second column there for the upcoming year. The school council financial training session, we've identified a few dates because it is dependent on some of the presenters that are involved on the school board side to see and confirm their availability. But we would have an interest to see if there might be a chance, Todd, I don't know if you'd be able to facilitate a vote or some feedback from the group to see if these dates are reasonable, and then we'll make sure that they're part of our board calendar and that there's increased awareness and communication about those planned dates. And I don't know, is everybody able to hear me, or am I not able to hear anybody?
No, we can hear you, Superintendent Connor.
Okay, that's good. So, I don't know, is that something that you'd like to vote on, or again, in terms of the deciding, this is just a proposal that we just wanted to be able to craft something that the committee could work with. It's certainly amendable to anything different, but just thought we would put it out there for a response so that we can make a decision this evening to move forward some preliminary plans for next year.
Yeah, I mean, so should we vote on that now, or?
That would be, yeah, I think that would be great if we could confirm that. I do know Shari has an interest in having some discussion around potentially virtual meetings or some combination of virtual and in-person meetings. But perhaps if we can confirm dates, and then when Shari jumps in, she can talk to the group around a proposal or an idea that I know she has talked about. But if we could vote and confirm that folks are of approval of these dates, that would be terrific, and that'll just allow us to move forward communications moving forward.
Okay, so why don't we do it this way? The dates are currently being shared right now. So from my perspective, it looks good, but for the rest of the committee, anyone have any inputs on these particular dates, or does everyone feel it fits?
Okay, I
think it avoids all of the days of significance and things of that nature, I believe.
Yes, yeah, we have vetted that against all of the dates that we need to be able to recognize and be mindful of.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late. Is my microphone okay today?
Yep, you're perfect, Shari. We're just going through to confirm the dates, and then I know that you had an interest to talk about potentially some variation of in-person or virtual, but Saad's just working with the group. I guess perhaps a way to position it, is there anybody that would disagree with us moving forward with those dates or would like to discuss further?
No, the only one I think, and it was brought up, and we've talked about this because Laura mentioned it even yesterday, is that many of our PIC reps that are coming from the schools haven't had a chance to either be on council before or be a PIC rep before. And I think it would really be beneficial for those, like for that meeting in December where it's the school rep orientation, that we have a chance to bring all of the PIC reps together in person. And I know the difficulty with Tara, you had mentioned like the only way that we could do it sort of a live stream type hybrid is if the in-person portion of it was done at the board office in Burlington.
And sorry, am I correct that? So our commitment around live streaming is for our PIC meetings, our school council financial training and PIC school rep orientation meeting. They're not live streamed. We often will make a copy and then distribute after, but we don't live stream it. So those actually have a lot of flexibility in terms of location, because we're not having to navigate the technological piece of life. Right,
but it would be if for the PIC reps though, for them, if they cannot join in person, we need a location that can run a hybrid effectively, right?
Yeah, it becomes more complex. Yeah, we'd have to check. Certainly, JWS would have that capability.
So I think we can note that the December 5th PIC school rep orientation meeting, we're going to have further discussion about making that in person. I think it makes sense. If we can just clear off the agenda here in terms of the dates themselves, though, right? So are there any committee members right now that see a conflict with any of our current dates? So if you can unmute and voice that concern now, and if not, then we can assume that these dates work for the current committee, and Superintendent Connor, we can approve them.
The only comment is the April and May one should be 2025, which is clearly obvious, but
yes.
pointed out before we.
Great catch.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay, it looks like, Superintendent Connor, it looks like those dates are approved.
Perfect, thank you.
That's good.
Can I just one more clarification? Are those all Thursdays as well, like we're currently on?
Suzanne, can you confirm that they're all Thursdays? I believe we use the exact same format.
Yeah, I think
yes, that is correct. They're all the same days of the week as this year.
that just might help those who are watching just in their brain.
And we've noted in the document potentially in person from Sherry, so we'll work towards that to explore in person or hybrid for that orientation, because that would be very beneficial to have that face-to-face with new PIC members at the school level.
Tara, was it mentioned in Ali's report about us changing the date of the conference for next year?
Not as of yet. I think on this same set of agenda items, there is a point to be made around the potential location or proposed location for the PIC conference, as well as the date as well could be included in that. So we haven't tackled that yet. No.
Okay, just to be aware that if we're changing the month that the PIC conference is going to be in, if it's going to affect either those live stream dates, like that February 6th date or anything. If there's any, like, I wouldn't just want there to be any overlap or anything, or asking people to do too many things, right back to back. So as long as you're okay with it, Jennifer. We're open on Jennifer now, but yeah.
I mean, really, it's Ali, our next committee member or chair a year.
Exactly. which is you, right? No,
Golly, you already suggested it.
So if we can keep the meeting moving along, Superintendent Connor, what's our next item? Is it the date of the PIC conference?
Yeah, there's two more items here. One is around the PIC conference location and date. Again, just forward planning, because what we Ali and the team facilitated a terrific debrief session earlier this week in person on Tuesday. And one of the thematic pieces that came out is having that date well in advance to publish, to hold date, to communicate, to advertise, and to strategically plan towards is really, really beneficial. And so the hope was that we would be able to confirm a date again so that we can begin to move forward with plans in the summer and launch very early in the school year for deeper planning across system. So certainly, Ali, perhaps you'd like to speak to some of the discussion or some of the proposed ideas that we had in regards to location as well as timing for the upcoming year.
Sure. So some of the feedback that came back from the conference. So there was feedback on both polar sides of location and date. Folks appreciated April. Folks appreciated Elsie McGill. There's been suggestions that we change the date, and there's been some, just a few suggestions that we actually change the location. So our focus right now is the date itself. We most likely will look at keeping Milton because it's central to the school board. But again, we are very open to discussion when it comes to that. Elsie McGill itself is a fantastic school, which provides great flow to the conference itself. And the resources there actually are very complementary or supportive of the conference. Again, we're very open to discussions on where the conference can be because it's for the school community. The dates itself, we acknowledge that April with the warm weather, there's multiple activities and conflicts for parents. So we are considering a move to February for this upcoming conference, with then the following year considering a move to November. We just felt as a committee that moving to November this year was too quick, too fast, without even the committee being solidified. And so we'd like to do it incrementally. February this year, so February of 2025, if my years are correct, with the following year, November 2025, which is not the following year, it's the same year actually, just a different month. The following school year would be November. So I hope I explained that correctly. Again, in discussion, in conversation, if there's anyone that would like to discuss or provide additional feedback or input, we're here to listen. Superintendent Connor, hopefully did I encapsulate that?
Yeah, no, that was perfect. The date that we were zoning in on was, I believe it was February 10th. Suzanne, you could confirm that to ensure that I'm not inaccurate. A real feeling that, to be honest, the conference is so fabulous that we want as many parents to be able to take advantage of it, parents, guardians, and caretakers as possible, or caregivers rather, as possible. And so the notion of being able to move it up a little earlier in the year seemed to have some traction. And I think kind of unequivocally amongst the group, folks felt that that was a really strong way to move. Sorry, thank you for that, Jennifer. So February 8th. So again, if I guess perhaps the best way to position it is that if there's anybody that disagrees or would like to speak through that a little bit further, we can. If not, and if we're in agreement, then we will move forward with the date. The location, for sure, we have some flexibility around that, but we'll work on, I think, the premise, if everybody's okay with it, with Elsie McGill, and unless there's further conversation down the road. But the date really, again, allows us to start to launch and be strategic around getting some communication out and some really strong planning that we can coordinate now that we have a timeline to work with. So again, I would propose perhaps asking if there's any concerns, and if not, that we would commit to that as a date for the upcoming year.
I think that's a great move to move it incrementally up in the school year, because then it gives parents resources to utilize for that very school year that they're in.
The other piece that I would just jump in that we reference as well is that I would say the vast majority of schools navigate their program funding and activities in April and May within schools as well. So we were really mindful that not only are parents busy and the weather's wonderful and kids' activities are certainly picking up as we move into spring, but we also have parents that are divided doing activities at the school level and then also planning a regional event of this magnitude at around the same time, just to make the best use of being able to tap into people's time and energy. So for all those reasons, that was lots of our thinking.
Okay, it doesn't look like there's anybody voting against the actual date. Sherry, I think I heard you coming in there.
Well, I was just going to say the other piece too around that whole pro-grant event was that if there were workshops or speakers that were presented earlier in the year, and that if, let's say, a parent saw somebody in on a November date and thought, wow, this was great, I'd love to have more information, they'd be able to take that back to their parent council and perhaps book that speaker in again for their pro-grant event later in the spring. So it's allowing them to use those resources as well later in the year, and while keeping that topic sort of fresh and current for them.
Great point. Superintendent Connor, it looks like we have agreement for the date now, so that's great.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And is the next item here the appointment of PIC members and vacancies for the next school year?
Yeah, this is just an operational piece. And certainly both yourself, Saad, or Shari can speak to it as well. It's just in regards to our constitution, that our current PIC voting members are yearly terms, or a one-year term. And then our chairs are in a 2-year termed position. So the term for our chair or co-chair positions is 2 years. And of course, individuals can serve up to 2 of those terms consecutively. So just as an awareness, what we hope to do over the next couple of weeks prior to the end of the school year is that we'll reach out to each of our current members of the committee to see if they have an interest in stepping into another year of a commitment to the PIC committee. I know it's lots of work and energy. I think this is just a phenomenal team. So we'll do much as we did last year, just to see who's committed. I'm mindful sometimes children graduate or move on, or life is busier, or work has other types of demands. So I know it's a personal decision to navigate. Once we've determined who is interested in returning, that will also allow us, as in last year, to determine our vacancies. And we'll move forward then a plan to communicate to families across region, should parents or guardians have an interest in stepping into the board committee PIC role. And we'll facilitate and consolidate that team. Again, within the Constitution, there's a bit of a panel that then reviews those applications. So we will move forward that process probably the 2nd or 3rd week of September, so that they're well positioned to be able to kick things off with their upcoming committee for the 24-25 school year.
Okay, great. So for the many people listening to this live stream, keep your eyes and ears open for that most likely email communication that will come out if you want to be considered for a vacancy in your area on this committee. I think at this time we're going to move into our next agenda item, and Superintendent Connor is going to do both the superintendent update, and Trustee Zhang could not make it today. So I believe Superintendent Connor is also going to be giving the trustee report as well.
Yes, thanks so much. And I will be quite brief. I was delighted that I know Director Innes is incredibly busy. Just delighted he can join us. He was able to join us this evening, and I knew without a doubt that he would provide and be able to share a number of updates across board in terms of initiatives, action, and work that's happening within schools and across our system. So I will keep my comments quite brief, and again, just grateful for his involvement this evening. So I will share Trustee Zhang. Perhaps I'll start with a few of his points. Unfortunately, he just had some challenges getting to us tonight, but he shared 2 points that he was hopeful that I could share with the group this evening. One is that the HDSB will be having a virtual multi-year plan town hall next Tuesday evening. The registration link is on the board website, and you can click on 2024 to 2028 multi-year plan and then the virtual town hall event to find out information about that. I know at our last meeting, we had the consultant team work with the PIC committee in terms of being able to solicit responses. That consulting team has been working expansively cross-region, collecting information through in-person events like town halls, as well as through virtual feedback opportunities, or electronic feedback opportunities. So I know Trustee Zhang was very keen to make sure that everybody was aware that this is yet another opportunity to ensure your voice is really present as we continue to define the vision for our board as a collective community for the years ahead. The other piece I had to do a little bit of research on, he gave a note that said, Toronto doors open on the upcoming weekend. It's a great educational opportunity. So I did a little quick search just before the meeting started, and this was actually news to me, but it sounds fabulous, and perhaps folks in the committee are aware of it. An event called Doors Open Toronto happens on this upcoming weekend, the 25th and 26th. You can simply just Google Toronto Doors Open. Like I said, I did that just a few moments ago. There's a tremendously wide range of events, particularly for families, to be engaged in Toronto throughout the weekend. There are events, there are talks. The whole notion of Doors Open is that there are buildings and sites that are all open free of charge to explore. So I understand that Trustee Zhang is really keen to share that amongst all of our families and as well as with the committee. Just for something to consider, that would be a wonderful thing to do this weekend. The last piece that I'll highlight on, and that will connect to some of the things that I'd like to share with you this evening, is that, I really appreciated your question around social media. What I was hopeful to just be able to frame a little bit about is the some of the work and the action that's happening around PPM 128. And this would have been shared with families a couple of weeks ago. I think it was April 29th. The communication came out from the Minister of Education as well as the Deputy Minister that highlighted some of the principles around some key changes that they are unfolding for September that really speaks to some of the concerns and issues that have been raised, particularly amongst families, again, parents, guardians, and caregivers, as well as schools, in looking at conduct around cell phones, social media, and vapes in schools. So if you haven't had a chance to read the letter, what I thought I would just do is highlight the 2 or 3 points that there has been a fair amount of, I would say, media attention around. And it certainly connects to many of the questions and concerns that I'm sure you have heard from other parents and that we continue to work through in schools. And then just a little bit of a sense of how some of the work is unfolding in a really contextualized way within the system, so that what you can expect for it to look and feel like as we move forward in this process in the coming weeks and months. So essentially the letter that all of you would have received was an overview that the minister has identified as Canada's most comprehensive plan to counter the threats of social media, vaping, and cell phones. Essentially, one of the points referenced in relation to cell phones is that to help reduce the distraction in our schools starting in September, the letter states we will be denying cell phone usage during instructional time so that students can focus on getting back to the basics and learning foundational skills like reading, writing, and math. There's also some delineation between younger aged children up to grade 6 and then grade 7 to grade 12. We have had, I would say, across our system, lots of schools that have had specific policies around cell phone use in the classroom and within the school. And there has been, of course, variability between elementary and secondary schools. What this shift really identifies is really a board-wide, the expectation that there's a board-wide policy that's common and consistent amongst schools. This was just released, as I said, 2 or 3 weeks ago. What we're now doing, and I'm working with fellow superintendents that are connected to schools, are looking at really how we move forward in operationalizing this plan. what it looks like in the classroom, what the expectations will be in terms of what it looks like in managing the issue of cell phones in schools, and ensuring that there's clarity in terms of what those expectations will look like. So lots of discussion in terms of how to unpack that and what that work will look like in terms of kind of the on-the-ground experience. But those conversations right now are unfolding, again, to be in alignment and consistent with ministry expectation. There was also a piece of the letter that talks about removing, in the statement I'll read is, we are also removing social media websites from all school networks and devices to help strengthen in-person relationships, communication, and social emotional skills. One of the pieces that I appreciated Director Ennis sharing is that part of a lot of that work, as you can well imagine, is our technological team or IT team really starting to unpack some of the infrastructure action and work that needs to happen to actually facilitate removing access to social media sites in terms of identifying what those sites are, in terms of managing how that unfolds within schools. So we have, again, teams really deep in this work right now to figure out not only a common understanding of what that will mean and look like in schools and how that will be implemented, but also the technical infrastructure to make sure that we have some really sound strategies in place to move forward. And the last piece I'll speak to is the statement around, it's a statement around a strict anti-vaping policy in schools. Some of those pieces highlighted by the minister as parents having immediate information or being immediately informed if there is vaping of their child in the school. That vapes in a student's possession will be given up and disposed of, that there'll be immediate consequences, and that public health units will also help in supporting education, and also some language around installing vape detectors so that they can better enforce these new rules. If I might, I'll just contextualize. I was a secondary administrator for about 20 years. And certainly have lived through recent years in which vaping became even something that students knew about. I think probably 20 years ago, we were still talking about smoking. And in recent years, of course, vaping has been an issue in our secondary schools in particular, although it would be an issue for elementary and secondary. So I will say that I will share, I guess, that some of what has been referenced are certainly things that have been a part of our work in response in vaping, with the navigating vaping concerns in school communities for a number of years, in terms of addressing it as a serious issue, contacting parents, confiscating the item, and working through the educational response and school-based consequences. Again, what's happening right now are folks at the school level as well as at the system level, really consolidated, confirming those actions and practices, ensuring that, again, those are public and parents are aware of what that looks like, and also exploring the notion of vape detectors and what and how that might function within our schools, which would be something new that has not been done or implemented currently. So lots of work and unpacking around kind of all of these areas, and I did just want to just to let folks know that. Some of this work is fairly deep work and has some complexity to it, but certainly, as always, we would have a very, very strong commitment to adhering to the expectations that are shared, and we also share all of those concerns and making sure that our schools and our classrooms are positive and safe and enriching for our students. So in the weeks and months ahead, I will say as parents, you can expect to hear more about what this looks like, and they will be very richly shared communication. So there's common understanding amongst schools, but also certainly with parents and guardians as well in terms of what that looks like. And just, I think the very last thing I would say, and the minister does actually reference it in the letter, is that, when we look at any of the issues around cell phone use or social media or issues like vaping or substance abuse, just the role of parents as well in really navigating those discussions with their children across all ages. I have 4 children myself, and like all of you, I have all of them who have, I can't even remember the age of my youngest, all clamoring for cell phones, all accessing and trying to navigate what social media pieces they have access to or not. Those are really, really important conversations for families to think about and to think about when and how your children are able to use technology in your home and outside your home. talking about concerns around, vaping or substance abuse, and just, always opening the door to talk to and be attentive to where your children are at and what your children are experiencing, so that we all navigate really those strong protective factors to keep our children and our students safe and well. So I just thought I'd take a moment, since it is kind of pertinent and work that the board is deeply committed to, just to give a little bit of a framework around that and where those next steps are unfolding. And that's it for me tonight.
Oh, I'm just unmuting myself. All right, thank you very much, Superintendent Connor, for that great update. And that is it for our meeting. So we are going to adjourn at 8:03 p.m. And that concludes our final meeting. If anyone has any questions, Sherry and myself are your co-chairs, and we'd more than welcome any email feedback or further questions.